A pleasant day to our professor, Dr. Russell Jean Tamayo, and to my fellow classmates. Today, I am going to share to you the use of system analysis in a small group as a system. In this lecture, we will explore the concept of system analysis and how it can be applied to small groups. As we all know, system analysis is a problem-solving technique that involves studying and understanding the components and interaction of a system to improve its overall performance. Now, first, we are going to tackle the key concepts. So, what is a system? It is a collection of interrelated components working together towards a common goal. In the context of a small group, the group itself can be considered as a system. What about open system? It is a situation where the group interacts freely with the environment. Now let us define open system. An open system is a system that interacts with its environments, exchanging information, energy, and resources. Open systems are dynamic, adaptable, responding to changes in the environment. And in the small group, it can be viewed as open system as they interact with their external environments. What about the term components? So these are the individual elements that make up the system. In a small group, components can include members, roles, tasks, communication channels, and decision-making processes. Another key concept or key term is the word interaction, refer to the relationships and exchanges among the components of a system. In a small group, interactions occur through communication, collaboration, and coordination. Let's have the next term, which is feedback. So it is the information or response received by the system from its environment. Feedback helps the system adjust its behavior and improve its performance. Now let's go to what we call the system boundaries. Okay, so it defines the scope of the system being analyzed. For a small group, the boundaries may include the group's members, resources, and external stakeholders. We go to the second part of my report, which is the principles. So what are the principles included in this small group? First, we have what we call the interdependence, which states that the parts of a system do not operate in isolation, but continuously affect each other. What do we mean by this? It means that in an open system, interdependence refers to the interconnectedness and mutual influence among the various components or elements of the system. Changes or actions in one component can have ripple effects on the other components within the system. This means that the behavior or outcome of one component is dependent on the behavior or outcome of the other components, creating a network of relationships within the system. For example, when the cheerful chair of a committee comes to a group meeting, a grouchy mood, the members will feel uneasy, and the group's normally effective decision making will be impaired. This happens because being independent in the action we take, sometimes there are unanticipated consequences that will affect all the members of the group. Second principle is what we call the non-summativity or non-additivity, which states that the whole system is not the sum of its parts, with either positive synergy or negative synergy operating. So non-summativity is also known as non-additivity. It's the principle that the whole system cannot be simply understood by summing up the individual parts or components in isolation. In other words, the behavior or properties of the system as a whole cannot be deducted or predicted by examining its individual components separately. The interactions and relationships between the components give rise to emergent properties or behaviors that are not present in any individual component alone. Example is that a strong basketball team, for instance, is not just the sum of total of the abilities of each member of the team, but rather how they observe teamwork when they play. Similarly, a group of intellectuals as one group does not necessarily produce the best output. It all depends on how they interact, synchronize, and harmonize these individual resources and efforts. Sometimes, in other areas of endeavors, groups frequently design technologies beyond the collective capacities of the individual members. In other words, no one can go beyond the collective capacities of the individual members. In other words, no one can predict whether a group will experience positive or negative synergy. This brings us to the concept of ambiguity, which sometimes characterizes group behavior. It is said that the amount of ambiguity determines the types of obstacles the group will encounter. In any case, the communication behavior of the group members is the principal determining factor for the group's gains and losses. Now let's have the third principle, which is the equifinality. So it suggests that different systems can reach the same outcome, even if they have different starting places. The system's principle that different systems can reach the same endpoint. So equifinality refers to the concept that a system can reach the same final stage or outcome from different initial conditions or through different pathways. In other words, there are multiple ways to achieve a particular result within the system. Equifinality recognizes that different configuration or combination of inputs, processes, or interactions can lead to similar or equivalent outcome. Now let's go to the principle of multifinality. The system's principle is that systems starting out at the same place can reach different endpoints. So multifinality is the opposite of equifinality. It suggests that a system with similar initial conditions or starting points can produce different outcomes or final states. Even when the system starts with identical inputs or components, the interactions and processes within the system can lead to divergent results or outcomes. This highlights the sensitivity of the system to small differences or variations in the initial conditions. Let's go to the another principle of multi-causation, which states that whatever happens in a system is not the result of a single simple cause, but is produced by complex interrelationships among multiple forces. So multi-causation emphasizes that the behavior or outcomes of a system are influenced by multiple causes or factors. In an open system, various elements or variables interact with each other, and their combined effects contribute to the overall behavior or outcome of the system. The behavior of the system is not determined by a single cause, but rather emerges from the interplay of multiple causal factors. So let's go to the third part of my report, which is the variables in a small group. So what are the variables in this particular small group? First, we have what we call the individual level. So individual level are the properties of individual members such as their traits, skills, abilities, expertise, values, and attitudes. The individual level focuses on the understanding the behavior, attitudes, and characteristics of group members. We also have what we call the individual behavior in the individual level. So when we talk about this, individual behavior refers to how each group member acts, communicates, and contributes within the group. Factors influencing individual behavior include personality traits, values, attitudes, and skills. Observing individual behavior helps understand the strengths, weaknesses, and roles of group members. We also have what we call the individual attitudes and motivation. Attitudes reflect the beliefs, opinions, and emotions that individuals bring into the group. Motivation drives individuals to participate, engage, and contribute to the group's goals. Understanding individual attitudes and motivation aids in promoting a positive group environment. We also have what we call the individual roles. So roles represent the expected behaviors, responsibilities, and functions assigned to group members. Different roles include task-oriented roles, like leader, the facilitator, and the social-emotional roles, like the mediator, tension reliever. Those are examples. Recognizing individual roles facilitate effective task completion and group cohesion. We also have what we call the system level, or characteristics of the group as a whole, such as societal and cultural norms, degree of cohesiveness, and procedures the group uses. So the system level examines the interactions, processes, and structures within the group as a whole. These two levels are interconnected and influence each other, shaping the overall functioning of the small group. In the system level, we have what we call the group dynamics. So group dynamics refer to the patterns of interaction, communication, and influence among group members. Factors influencing group dynamics include power relationships, communication styles, and decision-making processes. And analyzing group dynamics helps identify group norms, conflict, and cohesion. We also have what we call the group structure. Group structure pertains to the formal and informal organization of the group, including roles, norms, and relationships. Formal structure includes designated roles and responsibilities, while informal structure emerges through social interactions. Examining group structure aids in understanding power dynamics and facilitating effective communication. We also have what we call the group decision making. It involves the process of reaching consensus or making choices as a collective entity. Factors influencing group decision making includes individual opinions, information sharing, and decision making techniques. Studying group decision making processes assistance and enhancing the quality and effectiveness of group decisions. Now, in conclusion to this particular category, analyzing both the individual level and system level dynamics is crucial for comprehending the functioning of small groups. By understanding the individual behavior, attitudes, and roles, as well as the group dynamics, structure, and decision making, we can promote positive group interactions and achieve desired outcomes. Recognizing the interplay between the individual and system level helps create a supportive and productive environment within small group. Now let's have the second part of my report, okay, which is the input, the output, and the throughput variables. So as an introduction, in system analysis, it is important to understand the concepts of this input, output, and throughput variables. These variables play a crucial role in describing the flow of information and materials within a particular system. In this lecture, we will explore the definition and significance of these variables in the context of a small group. So in the input variable, these are the resources, information, or materials that enter a particular system. They provide the necessary inputs for the system to function and produce desired outputs. So these are the components from which a small group is formed and that it is used to do its particular work. So what are the ideal input variables? These are the shared beliefs, the understand group's purpose, the memberships of the small group, the understanding of the relationship to other group, the time to work, and a particular good meeting place. Now we have the next variable, which is the throughput variable. It describes the processes and activities that transform inputs into outputs. They capture the flow of information, actions, and decision making within a particular group. So this is how the group actually transform into inputs into final products. These are the rules, the roles, and the norms. So what are the ideal? These are the dependable and reliable, considerate of others, roles are stable and understood, relatively equal status, norms are followed and discussed, and as well as there are communication flows and procedures are efficient. Now we go to the next variable, which is the output variable. It represents the result, the products or outcome generated by the system. They reflect the collective efforts and contributions of the group members. So the ideal output of output variable would be purpose achieved, personally satisfied, cohesiveness is high, group's leadership is stable, and it has a unique culture, parent organization is strengthened. Now, in conclusion to this particular part, understanding input, output, and throughput variables is essential for analyzing and improving the performance of a small group. By examining these variables, we can identify strengths, weaknesses, and areas for optimization within the group system. System analysis provides valuable insights that can enhance the overall effectiveness and productivity of the group's activities. Now let's go to the part 3 of my report, which is the benefit of system analysis in small group. The first, that it improves communication. System analysis helps identify communication gaps and inefficiencies within the group. By understanding communication patterns and dynamics, the group can enhance its information flow and decision-making processes. Second, enhance collaboration. Analyzing the group as a system allows for a better understanding of how members interact and collaborate. This understanding can lead to improved teamwork, coordination, and shared responsibility. We also have what we call increased efficiency. System analysis helps identify bottlenecks, redundancies, and inefficiencies in the group's processes. By optimizing workflows and eliminating unnecessary steps, the group can achieve higher productivity. We also have what we call the part 4 of my report, steps in system analysis for small groups. So the first step is that we have to define the system and its boundaries. Clearly define the small group and identify its members, roles, and objectives. You have to determine the boundaries of the system being analyzed. And the second step is that identify components and interactions. You have to identify the key components of the small group system, such as members, the tasks, the communication, and the channels. You also have to understand how these components interact and influence one another. And the number 3 step is that we have to gather data and feedback. collect relevant data and feedback about the small group's performance. This can include surveys, observations, interviews, or performance metrics. And the number 4, we have to analyze that data after gathering. Analyze the collected data to identify patterns, strengths, weaknesses, and areas for improvement. Look for opportunities to enhance communication, collaboration, and efficiency within a particular group. And the last step or the next step would be develop and implement solutions. So how are we going to do that? Based on the analysis, develop strategies and solutions to address the identified issues and implement the solutions and monitor their effectiveness. And the last step is that we have to evaluate. Okay? Continuously evaluate the implemented solutions and gather feedback. Make adjustments and iterate on the system as needed to ensure continuous improvements. So thank you for listening. That is the end of my report. These are my resources and references. Again, thank you. Have a great day ahead.